In Middle-earth, tales of valor are often sung of those who wield swords, yet not all heroes draw their strength from steel alone. Among the legends of the Third Age, two women stand apart, Eowyn of Rohan and Arwen Undermil. Their paths are starkly different, yet their roles are equally vital to the fate of Middle-earth. To reduce them to a contest of better or stronger is to miss the beauty of Tolkien's design, for Eowyn and Arwen are not opposites, but counterparts. They reflect two forms of power, one burning with the fire of defiance, and the other glowing with the quiet endurance of sacrifice. Together, they illuminate Tolkien's profound understanding of strength and its many faces. Eowyn's story begins on the wind-swept plains of Rohan, a kingdom shaped by war and honor. Raised in the house of Eorl, she was familiar with grief from a young age. The deaths of her parents left her bereft, and in time her beloved uncle, King Theoden, fell under the shadow of Saruman's malice. Yet the greatest sorrow she bore was not loss, but confinement. In Eowyn's own words, her fear was a cage, to stay behind bars, until youth and old age accept them and all chance of doing great deeds has gone beyond recall. Her plight speaks to a universal longing for freedom, a struggle against expectations that chain the spirit. In her case, these expectations were those of a society that revered men for their prowess in battle and relegated women to roles of caretakers and watchers. Eowyn, however, was never content to be the dryness to whom Theoden sought to leave the care of the people. When Aragorn rejected her plea to ride with him, her response reflected the fire within her. All your words are but to say, you are a woman, and your part is in the house. Tolkien crafts here not merely a woman eager for war, but a soul yearning for significance. Frustrated by a world that does not see her potential, it is no wonder, then, that she disguised herself as a man, taking the name Dernhelm and riding into the battle of the Pelennor fields. Yet, this decision is about more than rebellion or defiance. Eowyn's choice is a manifestation of her desperate need to live fully, to risk all for a cause greater than herself. And the culmination of Eowyn's arc lies in her confrontation with the Witch King of Angmar, a moment etched in legend. When the Nazgul declared that no living man could kill him, Eowyn stood unbowed and unveiled her face. But no living man am I. You look upon a woman. This is not merely an act of physical courage. It is a symbolic victory over the assumptions that sought to define her. Her triumph over the Witch King, achieved alongside Merryweather, another underestimated figure, proves that strength arises not from who you are perceived to be, but from the fire within. This victory also shatters the Witch King's prophecy, a clever subversion of fate by Tolkien, where Eowyn's identity as a woman becomes her greatest strength, not her weakness. Yet Tolkien does not leave Eowyn's story resting on the laurels of war. In the aftermath of the battle, Eowyn finds herself in the houses of healing, physically broken but still carrying the weight of her emotional wounds. Her meeting with Faramir marks a turning point, where she begins to see a different kind of strength. One that lies not in seeking death and glory, but in embracing life and renewal. Faramir's words to her are gentle yet profound. You desired to have the love of the Lord Aragorn, because he was high and puissant, and you wished to have renown and glory. But when he gave you only understanding and pity, then you desired to have nothing, unless a brave death in battle. Faramir sees her true heart, and offers her something greater than glory: peace. In choosing Faramir, Eowyn finds a path beyond the war, a life defined not by defiance, but by joy. This, too, is an act of courage, for it is often harder to live and heal than to fight and fall. Arwen's story, by contrast, unfolds in quiet shadows, far from the fields of battle. She is a figure of beauty and grace, often compared to Luthien Tinuviel, the most beloved of elves. Unlike Eowyn, whose struggles are immediate and visible, Arwen's strength is hidden in her choices, Born in the year 241 of the Third Age, Arwen is the daughter of Elrond, Lord of Rivendell, and she belongs to a lineage of immense power. As an immortal, her life is timeless, yet it is her willingness to give up this eternity that marks her greatest act of courage. When she chooses to bind her fate to Aragorn, she forsakes the undying lands and the life of the elves, choosing instead the path of mortality. This choice, made with full knowledge of the loss it entails, mirrors the tale of Luthien, who likewise gave up immortality for the love of a mortal man. He applied the tale of Luthien, who likewise gave up immortality for the love of a mortal man. Arwen's sacrifice is not one of weakness or submission, as some have criticized. It is an active decision that reshapes the future of Middle-earth. By uniting herself with Aragorn, she becomes a symbol of hope for the reunification of elves and men, a bond that had long been severed. Her presence at Aragorn's side during his coronation signifies not only the fulfillment of their love, but the restoration of a fractured world. In Tolkien's mythology, Arwen's choice carries immense weight. She is not merely a passive figure waiting for Aragorn's triumph. Her decision to remain in Middle-earth is a deliberate rejection of the safety and perfection of Valinor. This sacrifice ensures the continuation of the line of kings, a lineage that will endure long after her death. The contrast between Eowyn and Arwen lies not in their worth, but in their roles. Eowyn's fire burns brightly, defying all that sought to diminish her. Her victory is one of defiance, against prophecy, against societal expectations, and against despair. Arwen's strength, on the other hand, is like starlight, enduring, constant, and self-sacrificing. Where Eowyn slays death itself in the form of the Witch King, Arwen embraces mortality, knowing that her sacrifice will bring life to the world. Tolkien's brilliance lies in how these two characters complement each other. Eowyn and Arwen embody different forms of heroism, yet both are essential to the story of Middle-earth. Without Eowyn's courage on the battlefield, the Witch King would not have fallen, and the tide of war might not have turned. Without Arwen's sacrifice, Aragorn's legacy would not endure, and the hope of the Fourth Age would fade. These women are not rivals, nor are they lesser than their male counterparts. They are pillars of strength in their own right, proving that heroism is not bound by gender, role, or the weapons one wields. Tolkien, in his letters, often reflected on the nature of courage and sacrifice. He described Eowyn as a figure of rebellion and passion, yet he also recognized the quiet power of Arwen's endurance. Through their stories, Tolkien challenges readers to see strength in all its forms. Whether in battle or in love, in defiance or in sacrifice, Eowyn and Arwen reveal that true strength lies in remaining unyielding in the face of despair. Where Eowyn's story is defined by her desire to act, her need to break free of her perceived powerlessness, Arwen's story is shaped by stillness, patience, and an understanding of the broader scope of time. Arwen, like many of the Eldar, has seen the ebb and flow of Middle-earth's history, and her choices are rooted in a wisdom gained over centuries. Unlike Eowyn, who struggles against the immediacy of her own captivity, Arwen faces a quieter, deeper struggle, the weight of eternity. Immortality among the elves is not freedom, it is permanence, a life bound to the unchanging music of Arda. By choosing mortality, Arwen embraces the fleeting nature of human life and all the beauty that comes with it. The fragility of love, the meaning found in its brevity, and the inevitable sorrow of parting. Tolkien's inclusion of Arwen in The Lord of the Rings is subtle, but deliberate. While she is rarely in the forefront of the action, her presence resonates throughout the story. The scene where she offers Aragorn her pendant, a physical symbol of her choice, reveals her role as a guiding light. The pendant represents not only her love for Aragorn, but also the hope she has placed in him and the world of men. It is a gift laden with meaning, a relinquishment of her immortal ties for the sake of a mortal future. This moment echoes through the ages, for her sacrifice ensures that Aragorn can carry the weight of his destiny. Arwen becomes the unseen strength that allows the king to rise. Sabis. Her story also has roots in one of Tolkien's most cherished myths, the tale of Beren and Luthien. This story, found in the Silmarillion, is one of the great romances of Middle-earth. Luthien, an elf maiden of immense beauty and power, forsakes her immortality to be with Beren, a mortal man. Their love defies Morgoth, the first Dark Lord, and changes the course of history. Arwen, as a descendant of Luthien, mirrors this choice, and Tolkien himself acknowledged the parallel, even engraving Beren and Luthien on his and his wife Edith's gravestones. Arwen's story, therefore, carries the weight of legend. She is not merely a passive romantic figure, but an heir to one of Middle-earth's most profound legacies, a symbol of love's power to transcend death and reshape fate. This deeper connection to Middle-earth's mythology sets Arwen apart. Where Eowyn fights for her personal freedom and her place in a world at war, Arwen's sacrifice operates on a grander scale. It is both personal and cosmic, ensuring the survival of Aragorn's line and binding her story to the fate of the world. The Fourth Age, the Age of Men, cannot begin without her choice. In this way, Arwen's quiet actions are as essential to Middle-earth's salvation as Eowyn's triumphant stand on the battlefield. Yet, despite their differences, there are moments when Eowyn and Arwen's paths seem to cross. Not physically, but thematically. Both women stand as bridges between worlds. Eowyn is caught between the roles forced upon her and the warrior's path she longs to follow. Arwen is suspended between the immortal life of the elves and the mortal world of men. Both reject the expectations placed upon them, but they do so in their own ways. Eowyn chooses to ride to war, risking death to prove her worth and defy the limits set upon her. Arwen chooses love, forsaking eternity to embrace a mortal life full of fleeting joys and inevitable sorrows. These choices, though different, are united by their defiance of fate and their assertion of agency. Furthermore, Tolkien uses both women to explore the nature of hope. Eowyn's victory over the Witch King is a testament to hope against despair. She stands in defiance of prophecy, embodying the idea that no doom is final, no fate absolute. Her triumph shows that courage can rewrite destiny, that even the greatest shadow can be undone. Arwen, on the other hand, represents hope through sacrifice. By choosing mortality, she places her faith in the future. Faith that men, and Aragorn as their king, will usher in a new age of peace. Her sacrifice is an act of trust, a belief in the beauty of the world despite its impermanence. Through Eowyn and Arwen, Tolkien shows that hope takes many forms, whether in action or in surrender, in fire or in light. The contrast between these two characters also reflects Tolkien's broader themes of balance and harmony. Throughout The Lord of the Rings, the interplay of opposites, light and dark, war and peace, mortality and immortality, shapes the world. Eowyn and Arwen, too, embody this balance. Eowyn's fiery spirit is a necessary counterpoint to Arwen's quiet strength. Without Eowyn, the forces of war would overwhelm the world, leaving no room for renewal. Without Arwen, the sacrifices of war would have no meaning, for there would be no future to protect. Together, they remind us that strength is not a single quality, but a spectrum, that both fire and starlight are needed to guide the world out of darkness. Tolkien, ever the scholar of mythology, also draws on ancient archetypes to craft these characters. Eowyn reflects the warrior maiden found in many Northern European myths, a figure of defiance and glory. She is the shieldmaiden, the Valkyrie who rides into battle and determines the fate of heroes. Arwen, by contrast, embodies the ethereal beauty and wisdom of the elven queens of legend. She is the Evenstar, the light that endures through darkness, reminiscent of figures like the Lady of the Lake or the queens of Arthurian romance. These archetypes enrich their stories, grounding them in the deep traditions of myth and folklore that Tolkien cherished. By examining their roles in the broader context of Middle-earth's history, it becomes clear that Eowyn and Arwen are not rivals but reflections of each other. They represent two halves of a whole: action and stillness, war and peace, defiance and endurance. Tolkien's genius lies in his ability to show that both are necessary, that heroism comes in many forms. Eowyn's strength is visible, tangible, a blade that cuts through shadow. Arwen's strength is quiet, enduring, like the light of a star that guides from afar. Neither diminishes the other. Both are essential to the story of Middle-earth. First is Mistbower, the wife of the mayor. In the end, Eowyn and Arwen's stories converge on a single truth: that true strength lies in choosing one's path, in standing firm against despair, and in holding to hope when all seems lost. Whether on the battlefield or in the heart, their courage shapes the world and ensures its salvation. They are not defined by their relationships to the men around them, nor are they limited by the roles their society imposes upon them, nor are they limited by the roles their society imposes upon them. Instead, they rise above, claiming their place in the tale of Middle-earth as equals, different in their journeys, but equal in their worth. The conclusion of Eowyn and Arwen's journeys brings Tolkien's vision full circle, reminding us that heroism is not confined to the battlefield or the halls of kings. Eowyn, who begins her tale with a restless heart and a thirst for glory, ultimately finds peace in Faramir's love and the renewal of life in Ithilien. It is no small feat that the woman who once longed for a warrior's death instead becomes a steward of growth and healing. This shift marks the culmination of her arc, one that rejects the idea that worth can only be found in battle. Tolkien gently subverts expectations here. Eowyn's greatest victory is not her defiance of the Witch King, but her acceptance of a future where peace, not war, defines her purpose. Arwen's story, too, finds its resolution in quiet beauty and inevitable sorrow. Her choice to remain with Aragorn comes at great personal cost. When Aragorn dies, Arwen is left alone, wandering the now empty land of Lothlorien until she too passes from the world. The weight of her choice becomes clear in this moment. Her sacrifice was not simply for love, but for the hope that such love would endure, even when she could not. Tolkien does not shy away from the tragedy of mortality, nor does he offer Arwen an escape from the consequences of her decision. Instead, her story is a testament to the beauty found in fleeting things, a reminder that the worth of a life is not measured in its length, but in its depth. Here, Tolkien's philosophy on life and death becomes clear. Through Arwen and Eowyn, he explores the idea that both mortality and immortality come with their own burdens and blessings. Eowyn, as a mortal woman, must wrestle with the immediacy of her life's meaning, finding purpose in the face of its inevitable end. Arwen, on the other hand, must give up the unchanging perfection of the elves to embrace the joys and sorrows of a mortal existence. And in both stories, we see that true strength lies in choosing one's path and accepting the consequences that come with it. It is this act of choice, Eowyn's defiance, Arwen's sacrifice, that defines their heroism. Tolkien's letters offer further insight into the themes he wove into their tales. In one, he describes Eowyn as a woman of great spirit, who represents the rebellion of a soul constrained by circumstance. Yet he also emphasizes the importance of her healing, noting that her ultimate reward is not the glory of war, but the discovery of joy and peace. Similarly, Tolkien speaks of Arwen with reverence, connecting her story to that of Luthien, and describing her as a figure of beauty, sacrifice, and hope. In both cases, he affirms that their roles are equally vital, though expressed in different ways. This duality reflects Tolkien's broader belief that all parts of a story, and all forms of strength, are necessary to achieve balance and harmony. The beauty of Eowyn and Arwen stories lies in their resonance with readers across generations. Eowyn speaks to those who feel unseen, undervalued, or trapped by the expectations of their world. Her triumph is a victory for anyone who has ever fought to prove their worth, to shatter the limits imposed upon them. Arwen, in contrast, speaks to the quiet strength of endurance and sacrifice, to the power of love and the acceptance of loss. Her story is a reminder that true courage sometimes lies in choosing the harder path, the one that asks for faith and trust in a future we may never see. Together, they remind us that there is no single way to be strong, no single definition of heroism. Eowyn's fire and Arwen's light are two sides of the same coin, complementary, not contradictory. Without Eowyn, the darkness of the Witch King would have remained unchallenged, a symbol of despair's triumph. Without Arwen, the hope for a new age would have faded. For Aragorn's line and the unity of elves and men depended on her choice. They are two women whose actions shaped the fate of Middle-earth, proving that strength, in all its forms, is vital to the world's salvation. In the end, Tolkien's portrayal of Eowyn and Arwen is a masterful exploration of the many faces of courage. He gives us a warrior who slays death itself, and a queen who embraces life's fleeting beauty. And he asks us to see the value in both. Their stories are a call to recognize the strength within ourselves, whether it is the fire to fight or the patience to endure, the will to defy or the grace to sacrifice. Father Mover. It is through these two women that Tolkien shows us the full spectrum of heroism, reminding us that every act of courage, no matter how small or quiet, has the power to change the world. As the tales of Eowyn and Arwen draw to a close, we are left with an enduring truth. Strength is not defined by the weapons we carry or the battles we fight. It is defined by the choices we make, the paths we walk, and the hope we hold on to, even when the night is darkest. Eowyn and Arwen stand as equals, their stories intertwined in the great tapestry of Middle-earth, each playing a part that no one else could. And so their legacy endures, as a reminder that in every heart lies the power to bring light to the world, whether through fire or through starlight. End of section 56.